His topic will be on overview of musculoskeletal mechanobiology, interpretation of muscle adaptation behavior after muscle strength training. Professor Rogan, when you are ready, I saw your presentation.
Yes, you can see it. It's a good sign.
Yes, yes, okay.
No, cool. And I want to present the next minutes or talk about mechanobiology. We think that's a good or a new topic for the future. And we have to look, or I want to present the muscle adaptation behavior after muscle strength training. First of all, I want to say we have no conflict of interest. And if we have a look of athletes, how they train, and we can see or we can say that a controversy exists regarding training load for optimal muscle adaptation in humans, because of we know that a lot of kinds of exercises, strength exercise exist, and I have you can see 4 pictures here, and I have selected 4 kinds of methods, strength training methods. The first one is I think it's a very popular, Frank Medrano is that, we can see here. This is called calisthenics, and they train only with their own body weight. And very popular in calisthenics is pull-ups. Here we can see a pull-ups bar or push-ups. The next one here on the right side is from the US called CrossFit. They train or they followed the principle of body weight and additional weights. Here is one kettlebell. And both calisthenics and CrossFit, they follow the principle of exhaustion. They train until exhaustions. On the left hand, at the bottom here, we can see, or this picture should present the traditional method of strength training. And here we can see a man with a lot of muscle, and this is the method of bodybuilding. Now we have 4 kinds of methods or principles, but our question is why these are different, but they have all methods show the same effects on the human muscle. The muscle is growing, and the question for us is how this acts. And one idea of how this acts should give this figure here from Wang et al. Wang et al. Divided our human body in 5 levels. 1 level is the atomic level. Level 2 describes the molecular level. Level 3 is the cellular level. And level 4 is the tissue level. And level 5 is the whole body level. And normally the researchers evaluated the effects of strength training mostly on level 4 and level 5. But we have to focus, or we have to consider more the cellular level, because every stimuli starts or begins at cellular level, because cellular level produced the tissue system and the whole body system. Therefore, we conducted an overview summary for strength training recommendation by the means of summarize the physiological reaction to muscle strength training on the hormone markers, intramuscular signaling, and skeletal muscle mass adaptation through the mTOR pathway. To answer this question and to reduce bias in our search, we follow the guidelines for systematic literature search. And 2 independent researchers searched at PubMed and do a hand search. And our search term was strength training and muscle cell adaptation. But we do not evaluate the methodology quality of the included studies. Further, our inclusion criteria was all types of study designs, and all studies has to describe muscle cell reaction, muscle tissue reaction, and parameter of training load. our exclusion criteria were blood markers and muscle mass, and the data extraction were independently between the two viewers. Now, here we can see the results of the lower part of the flow chart, the eligibility. We have 50 articles, and from these we selected 72 articles, and 23 articles evaluate the hormone markers in intramuscular signaling after strength training, and 4 articles assess the tissue reaction after strength training. And now I come to the conclusion, and I want to repeat our goal of the study. We want to summarize physiological reactions to muscle strength training and hormone markers, intramuscular signaling, and skeletal muscle mass adaptation through the mTOR pathway. And we could recommend for strength training regimes, you should use 70% of 1 repetition max, more than 6 sets with 8 to 10 repetition with a rest of 2 minutes between the repetitions. And our findings are similar with Martorelli and colleagues. They represented similar results on cortisol, on immune globulin A, lactate, creatine kinase. And they postulated a training regime with 75% of 1 repetition max, 5 sets to failure, and 2 minutes in rest. And we conclude 2 pathways how strength training acts on muscle. One pathway we call the metabolic pathway. Schoenfeld described this. The first step is strength training induced cell swelling, and then osmosis sensor detected on this, and the cell perceives threats to integrity. And after this, an anabolic and anti-catabolic process started, and at least muscle protein accretion occur. And mechanobiology followed the way of mTOR. We have a stimuli, pressure or tension of the muscle cells, and the signaling were occurred through the mTOR pathway to the nucleus cell, and the nucleus cell produced, for example, proteins for the human muscles. And this was my talk about mechanobiology in humans muscle.
Thank you, Professor. Very interesting data.
Yes, but we are only at the beginning. Yes.
If I understand, you suggest training with 70% of 1 repetition of maximum.
Yes.
In 6 sets and 8 to 10.
Yes.
Repetition.
Yes. This is the way. If you train with weights, then we recommend this way, 70% of 1 repetition max. If you want to use the metabolic way, then we recommend it to train with lower weights. This means, for example, 30% of 1 repetition max. And if you train with these loads, 30% of 1 repetition max, for example, you can 100, you have a load from 100 kilogram for the leg press, and then you have to train with 30 kilogram leg press until exhaustion. You must train to the load until exhaustion, and then the metabolic way is starting.
Okay, but
this is our conclusion.
Okay, but
at the moment.
Okay, but if we train with 70% of maximum,
yes.
What will be effects of strength training? Are we going
the effects? Yes, the effects of strength training with 70% of repetitive max is that the cell get a signal, tension, and the pressure gives a signal via the cell membrane to the nucleus cell, and the nucleus cell produces then muscle protein to build up muscle. This
okay.
is the
There's a for hypertrophy.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
Yes, it's only for hypertrophy.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have some question for Professor Rogan?